So today with us is Anders Marop, who's from Nilfisk, is the Regional Director for Middle East and Africa. He'll be giving his presentation on Clean First, then Disinfect, the key benefits and best practices during a pandemic. Great, we can see in the chat box that everyone can hear it clearly. So polls, just to let you know that this session is going to be recorded. So the presentation and the recording will be made available to you after the webinar. So we will send that on to you within 2 to 3 days of finishing the webinar. So don't worry if you don't always see the slide or you miss something, you'll be able to catch up with it via recording and via the presentation as well. It's great to see so many people answering the polls as well. So I'm just going to hand over to Anders now. Anders, welcome, and thank you so much for taking part in the FM series.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me clearly. I'm quite sure you can. I will go through a presentation today, but what I actually hope the most is that we can somehow get some interaction. I know that you are not able to, let's say, put your voice forward, but please put your questions in the chat, and I'm hoping we will have plenty of time to go through the questions. So I'll try maybe to go through the presentation a little bit quick, so that we can come back to some of the slides if there are a need for more detail, if there are any more questions. So let me start by briefly introducing myself. I'm responsible for Nilfisk in Middle East and Africa, which is a huge area spanning billions of people. We have our office here in Dubai for several years, and we are since the last couple of years also being serving the market in UAE directly, where throughout the rest of the region we work with a lot of trusted Nilfisk partners. So that means that throughout the region you will be able to gain our services and our products. Been in the industry for a few years and been even longer in the Middle East, originally from Denmark. What we will talk about today is, as the title also hints, is about cleaning and disinfection. My focus will be on the cleaning or sanitation part of it. This is where obviously us being a cleaning machine manufacturer has our expertise. But I think there's a lot of discussion, confusion about the need for cleaning, the need for sanitation, the need for disinfection. There are many terms being used, so I'll try to touch on that as well. Then we'll look a little bit about, and I think this is maybe relevant for our region, to look what's the difference between manual cleaning and mechanical cleaning. How do you look at the total cost of ownership for your machines, and then also looking at how to manage your consumables and new technologies. If we have time, I will give you a little bit more insight to Nilfisk, but I think the other topics are probably more interesting. So if we look at cleaning and disinfection, I think it's important first to clarify what's the difference, and I think also important to be aware that the first step before you move into disinfection is cleaning. So it's important that the first step that you do and what you do on regular basis is cleaning. Then when you move into disinfection, this is a further step where you go into to make sure you have a higher level of germs that are being killed, a higher percentage. And again, this also, of course, depends on what kind of product and solution you're using. And that should be done not as frequently as cleaning. And it could also be that only certain areas are disinfected, where all areas are maybe cleaned and then some other areas are disinfected. So there is definitely a difference, but I think for me important that we understand that we initially start with the cleaning part and then we add on the disinfection. If you go directly to disinfection, the dirt which will be on the surfaces will actually make the disinfection less, let's say, effective. And then I would also just bring a slide from ISSA that you probably already know. And this is a pre-COVID-19 poster. But I think even before we got so aware about the need for cleaning with the current pandemic, it's clear that cleaning is good business. This makes employees stay healthier. It makes people find your facilities more attractive. So doing the right way of cleaning and keeping your facility looking good is good for business. You will receive the slide deck. So if you need more details, then I think this is an interesting one to go back and look at. Then when we are looking at manual cleaning versus mechanical cleaning, which I think there's often a debate or a look at, okay, well, what is it actually that the machines are doing that I cannot do with a manual cleaning? So to look at this, I think it's important that we start out by looking at what is it actually that we do when we do cleaning. What is it that which parameters are part of cleaning? So I've tried to illustrate this with the 5 parameters that you can use. So there's the amount of water you use, that the amount of pressure, there's the amount of, let's say, temperature, if you have this option. Maybe you don't have this option. It's mostly, let's say, something we use when we clean with high pressure, because we can have a hot water pressure and cleaner, and we can have a cold water high pressure. Then we have detergent or chemical, and we have time. So the idea with the wheel is that the more you have of something, the less you need of something else to get the same cleaning result. And I think also important when we look at cleaning result is that all of us don't have the same, let's say, meaning experience about the word clean. So my wife will look at something, finding it not super clean, where maybe I find it clean enough. So I think that's also important that we are, let's say, for different areas, there are different needs for the level of clean. But the idea is that the more, for instance, effective chemical you use, the less time or pressure or water you can use to gain the same result. And that also applies, of course, if you have a floor care machine with a higher pressure, meaning that you get more mechanical cleaning, then you can spend less time or less water or less detergent to gain the same result. So depending on which of these parameters you agree or you look to turn on, you can then affect the others. And I often think of this to make it quite simple. Think about when you are cleaning your hands. So if you have dirty hands, if you have oily hands, and you don't have soap or detergent, it will take you a lot of time, and it will also be more effective with some hot water. And the more you press, you can clean. Do you add soap? Then suddenly the process can be much quicker and require maybe less hot water, require less time, less pressure. So for me, I look at this and compare it to when I need to clean my hands. So is my hands almost not dirty? Then it can probably be done very easily. But are they very dirty? I need then to gain something from some of these parameters to get my hands clean. And then, of course, it also depends how clean do I need them to be before it's acceptable to me. A hospital will have different requirement than a production facility, or let's say iron production facility. Then when we then understand, okay, this is the basics of cleaning, then we also need to understand what's the difference between the mop and bucket solution. And here I'm looking at the most simple solution. Of course, there are also newer technologies that are within the manual cleaning perspective. So I've just decided to take the most basic and then look at to compare it against using mechanical cleaning. Most important, I think, that you only once clean with the clean water. Once you move the mop in and out the second time, you're actually spreading the dirt around in your facility. The same about the water control. So when you're moving around, you're distributing the dirt to the edges of the area where you're cleaning. And that can also affect, let's say, furniture or surfaces that are close to the area you're cleaning, that can actually be affected by the water or the mop hitting these surfaces. And then, of course, it's more difficult to put pressure on a mop. So that doesn't give the same benefits as if you're using a machine. And then there's the whole, let's say, perspective looking at the cleaner. So it's a much tougher work for a cleaner to do cleaning with a mop compared to being on a machine or behind a machine. And that, of course, also gives a slower result. So this means that when if we look back at the wheel here, we are using less pressure. We are using also less clean water. We are using less maybe detergent. So that means to get the same cleaning result, it will need to take a longer time, and then generally can become more expensive. And when I say more expensive, we'll try we'll try to look at that in the coming slides. Sorry. When we then look at what's the benefit of using mechanical cleaning or a scrubber dryer or a single disc or other ways of cleaning, it's almost the opposite of the challenges of the mop and bucket. It's definitely more hygienic. It's a lot more effective, and you can get the same results depending, of course, the setting on the machines, but the machine will generally give a more even result. It's a more safe way to do, not only for the cleaner, but also for the people who maybe need to access or be in the room at the same time when you have cleaning. And then definitely it's a much higher productivity. When we then look at the total cost of ownership, so there's no doubt that buying a mop and a bucket or having a person sounds like the cheapest solution. And I've tried to make an example today. This works probably a bit better if you do it interactive and you do it on your specific needs and your specific situation. But I'm hoping maybe this can inspire someone to do these kind of thoughts and to look at it not only from the initial cost, but also look how can deciding on using a machine compared to people, how can that affect my profitability. So first thing is just to, what is the hourly cost for a person in UAE? In this case, we have done some research on this, not super scientific, but I think most people can probably agree to that an average an hourly cost for a cleaner is around 10 dirham. That can be a little bit higher or a little bit less, and that can of course be adjusted if we had a live tool. But just to set a base, and this doesn't include that the person can be sick. It doesn't include that you need someone to pay the person, to recruit, and there's many other indirect costs to look at. Then I've tried to illustrate, and I'm sorry, it's probably a bit difficult to understand this slide, so I'll try to be brief, but hopefully also give you an idea of what you're looking at. So I'm trying here to compare 4 different options for cleaning the same area. So this means that we have one solution to the left side with a mop and bucket. Then we have a solution with a walk behind the machine, the BA531. Then we have a solution with a smaller ride-on machine, a BR752. And then we have a solution with the same machine, but with a chemical dosing solution. When we then put in the area that all of these, so the hourly rate for a person is the 10 dirhams for all of them. We are cleaning 6,000 square meters. We are cleaning 6 days a week. We are cleaning 52 weeks, so every week of the year. And roughly the cost of a liter of water is 0.1 dirham. Then there are some parameters about how long time will it take to clean that areas, how many machines will be required. So for instance, we require 4 people and 4 sets of mop and bucket and people to clean it. We require 2 walk behinds and we require 1 ride-on machine. Obviously, the price of the mop and bucket is significantly less than the most expensive ride-on machine. So between, let's say, 1,000 initial 1,000 dirham per machine, and we need 4, so let's say 4,000 dirham compared to 48,000 dirham is a big difference. Then I will try to show you on the next slide what in reality we're looking at for the yearly cost. And here you will also notice maybe that I have put in different detergents. So for the mop and bucket, the walk behind, and the walk behind, I've put, let's say, a cheaper detergent, but also with a lower mixing rate. And for the ride-on machine with a chemical dosing setup, I have a much more expensive detergent, but also with a much higher dosing percentage. And when we have that way, that also allows us, when we have the dosing, that some areas might not require the use of chemical. Maybe here, and again, thinking back of the wheel, maybe now we are in an area that only requires to remove a little bit of dust. And the water is also, let's say, a basic detergent. So maybe here the water and the mechanical cleaning is enough. And then having the dosing system allows us to clean only with water. Result is, and I guess you're not surprised when it's, let's say, me setting it up, that actually when we look per year, the total cost, which is the orange bars, is significantly higher for the mop and bucket. You will also see I've tried to illustrate the split of the cost between the cost of labor, the cost of the machine in the mop and bucket being that we need to replace it every year, where the other machines will have a 3-year lifespan. So we have set up that this is, let's say, a contract or a period for 3 years. So the machine will last all 3 years, then requiring some service, but where the mop and bucket has to be replaced every year. So that means there's no service cost on the mop and bucket, but you have service cost on the machines. You need obviously to use some water, and then a big part of it is also the chemical or detergent. So that shows that what was initially actually the most expensive, when you're looking over 3 years and you're comparing year to year, then the most expensive is actually the least expensive. And this is, of course, an example. But my hope with this is that you get inspiration to look at it from your own perspective, because I think you cannot just copy paste what I'm saying here, but I'm hoping that can give you some inspiration to try to look at this yourself. I know a lot of companies are doing this, but I also know from speaking to a lot of companies that they're actually not so precise on what is it that they're spending, both for people, for chemicals and consumables. Then there's, of course, the need, if we can, how can we reduce the consumption of water so that we can protect our environment? In our part of the world, the water is in many countries not that expensive. In other countries, it's very expensive, and there is a lot of government regulations coming into some countries about the reduction of water. So I think that's an important parameter to be aware of. And then, of course, the chemical, which is both something that will be good for the environment to use less chemical, but for sure also good on your pocket. So generally there are 2 ways that we can put detergent into our cleaning solution, so either the bucket or into the cleaning machine. So generally this is, let's say, a manual filling. That means that generally the operator is putting in the detergent. It's less precise. Some will have some dosing, some will be almost free, let's say, loading it. It also means that you will have the same chemical for all your cleaning task. It also means that once you're done and you probably have some water left in your machine or even in your bucket, then you will be emptying out money. So the detergent will be emptied, not good again for the environment, but also not good for your pocket. There is a solution to this. From Nilfisk, we have our system called EcoFlex, which is both a chemical dosing system, but also a way that you allows flexibility of the way that you clean on different areas on the same machine. So you can clean with less water, you can clean with less detergent, you can even clean with less pressure, reducing the consumption of the battery on the machine maybe, but also giving you longer productivity. But overall, giving you a flexibility to clean with the need of the area you're in, and it's a very easy one-touch button for the operator. So it's not a complicated way, and this also allows you to have the detergent separate, so that it will not require the operator to decide on the level of detergent. He only needs to decide that he needs maybe extra if there's some spillage or in a certain area you have agreed, and then he can get this extra by pushing a button. Then when we look at technology, because of course technology is also something which is coming in to the picture. I actually had a small video, but I'm thinking I will skip the video to give some more time for some questions. I see there's a few questions. If we have time, I will come back to the video to show you that. But generally, Nilfisk, we have an overall vision that we want to be the leader in intelligent cleaning to make businesses smarter. So what does that mean? That means that we are already well into the beginning of looking at autonomous solutions. This means robotic cobots, where we have machines that are more intelligent, that can do tasks, that can figure out how to be inside an environment. Of course, we also have, and this is rapidly developing, so this is only something that will come more and more, and we have seen a lot of interest, and we have a lot of machines already with good experience outside in different environments. Then there's fleet management, which I think is also important. So understanding where your assets are, how are the machines performing, do they need to receive service, automatically being able to call service. So that is also coming. And then we know at the same time the environments our machines are in are also getting smarter. So that means buildings will turn into become smart buildings. So we also see that there will be a need for our machines and our services or the services that our machines are being used for to be able to communicate with the building, which is also interesting. When we then look at what is actually the value proposition when we look at autonomous machines or robotic machines, we're not only talking about this, but I thought this was a good slide to illustrate what is it that we can benefit from by using a machine that can do the cleaning without having a person engaged with the machine. So that actually means that at the same time as the cleaner is maybe doing his other tasks, that could be bathrooms, cleaning windows, and now with COVID-19, high touch surfaces like rail bars, handles, lift buttons. He can be cleaning that at the same time as the machine is cleaning the floor, leaving him up time to do other things. So that in reality means that you, with the same, let's say, labor time or cost of the person, frees up time to do more, because the machine will allow the person to do something else. Where we're at now, there's still a need for cooperation between the machine and the person, but that is becoming more and more advanced, and the machine can now almost do everything by itself, but also for safety reasons, there's still a need for a person to be close to the machine. I would just also, let's say now talking about COVID-19, highlight some of the solutions that I think is relevant to consider. So obviously scrubbers, as we talked about, but I think also the effect of temperature that we touched about the way of cleaning here. Hot water, high pressures, just by the temperature, if you have high enough temperature, also gives you a disinfection effect. So this could maybe be for shopping trolleys, that by using hot water or steam, you can actually both first do the cleaning, sanitation part, and then disinfection for big areas, and be very effective. Then of course we have steam, which is even higher in temperature, and thereby giving you also a lot of benefits, but again for smaller areas in general. And then we're now also looking into our robotic autonomous solution having a UV light way, so that the machine can both clean, sanitize, and do the disinfection in one pass with UV light. And when you then, of course, look at having machines, it's important that these machines are running, because now these become critical for the operation. So make sure that you take good care about the machines, then they will also take good care of you. So don't just expect that because you buy a machine, then you don't need to keep it well maintained. It's cheaper to keep the machine maintained than to wait until a breakdown. And consider the same as with your car. It needs a bit of care, and then it will last a lot longer than if you wait until it breaks down. I think we're almost reaching half an hour. I'll just, and again, I have a video here. Let's see if we have time to play it. But I'll just at the end give you a little bit more knowledge about Nilfisk, so that at least you have one way of a solution. And of course, there are many companies in our business that are providing great solutions, but no doubt that that Nilfisk wants to continue to be the leader within our industry. We are present throughout the world, also here, but everywhere else. We are a professional company, so more than 90% of what we do is professional. That means that we understand and we care mostly about the professional segment, and making us also focus on this when we look at the future. That will definitely include a lot of technology, but also I think require a closer cooperation between the owners of buildings, the facility management segment, and the providers of the equipment. In that way, I think it's only possible to give the best solution. So I think with that, I will open up for questions. I was almost dead on half an hour. So I'm interested to hear if there are any questions that we should look at.
So far we've had 2 questions. If everyone wants to pop their questions into the Q&A box now, Anders will be answering everything. So the first question is, what are the recommended machines by Nilfisk?
Yeah, so I think, let's say maybe that question came before the slide. We have a very wide range of machines, from our famous GD930 vacuum cleaners to robotic machines, to all the machines we have running in warehouses. But when we maybe look specifically, I'm guessing this question is about, let's say, pandemic, COVID-19. Here, I think it's important that you're not only using one solution, but you're using different solutions. And you're also considering, how can I make sure that for this task, I'm choosing the right machine. That's also why I'm showing on this. I'm both showing, let's say, a regular scrubber. I'm showing a hot water pressure washer, a steam cleaner, and a robotic. All of these would be very applicable into these environments. For instance, we have had machines, autonomous machines, running in hospitals, because they don't want to have any operators. They don't want to have any people from outside to come into the facility. And then again, a scrubber for the floor, being more effective, allowing then maybe the person that previously was walking behind the machine to do some other task. And then look, how can I benefit from temperature in hot water and in steam, so that maybe I can be more effective. Maybe I have less time. Maybe the facility don't allow my cleaner now to be in the facility for that long, so I need to be figuring out new solutions. So this we go in close dialogue with our partners and our customers about this.
Yeah, and then Mataza asks, are the parts of the machine, if needed, available in the market easily, specifically for Afghanistan, he asks?
For Afghanistan, which I think here almost you pick one of the countries where we don't currently have a local partner. What I would say is that we have a big warehouse in Jebel Ali in the free zone where we both carry machines, but we definitely also carry parts. We have our own service set up here in UAE. But in Afghanistan specifically, we don't have a Nilfisk partner there. So in all the countries where we operate, being Morocco or South Africa or Kuwait, we have long-term Nilfisk partners that are both providing machines, but definitely also providing service. Critical is to have a reliable maintenance of your machine, or else it will not be the best solution. I hope that answered. Yeah, sorry.
Christine asks, which machine is best for a carpeted floor in the office?
So for a carpeted floor, if it's in the office, this could just be a regular vacuum cleaner. It depends, of course, what type of carpet it is. Generally, if it's an office environment, it's a very thin carpet. So, and of course, we also have carpet extractors. This is generally used more for the maintenance part or for handling spots on carpets. I see too often that, let's say, carpet extractors are being used as, let's say, normal operation. And especially on expensive carpets, you want to use this kind of solution as little as possible, but make sure you use an effective vacuum cleaner. And here we have from small size to very big sizes of vacuum cleaners, even ride-on machines if you talk about an airport. So that depends on the actual location.
So Swaroop asks, to what extent has UV technology progressed with regard to disinfection?
Yeah, first off, I will say I'm not an expert in UV, but what I know and what Nilfisk knows is that this is a widely used technology in hospitals. It is a technology that has been used in many different environments. It's also a technology where you need to be careful about how to use it. So what we are looking at is to have it together with our machine, so that when you have done the cleaning and drying of the floor, then you can do disinfection with UV. But I would say that I'm not a specific expert in UV, but we are using the same proving technology that other providers are using in different ways and widely used in many hospitals. And the great thing about UV is that it doesn't require dangerous chemicals, and it doesn't expose the cleaner to these. Of course, you still need to make sure that you use it correctly.
Great, and then the next question is, what are some of the potential microbial hazards that should be considered prior to reopening after a period of building inactivity?
Yeah, I think here, again, it can be very specific what type of building and what type of government requirements are there. But I think overall, not only because of this situation, but generally, it's important to keep any environment clean where you have people. This being an office or a restaurant or a hospital, it's important that you keep it clean to keep the users of that building healthy. Of course, now when you look at the cleaning part, the sanitation part that we are, let's say Nilfisk, we are the experts in, is the first step before you go to disinfection. Then you need to make sure that you select the correct solution chemical for the disinfection, and this depends very much on the different providers of the detergent or the chemical. Here, I think also a good point to mention is that our machines are open to be used with any chemical or detergent that you select. It can even be, for instance, in our hot water high pressures, that you add a disinfection chemical so that you are first cleaning with the temperature, then you connect and you use a disinfecting detergent with our machine. But it very much depends on what type of building, what type of government demands are there, so that you select the correct disinfecting chemical.
Arul asks, I'm sure there is always a negative impact on the floor surface in terms of thermal factor due to combined hot water and pressure operating in the machine. Could you please talk more on that?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at using a, I'm not sure if he's thinking about, let's say, a scrubber dryer with pressure, or he's thinking about the hot water high pressure, because no doubt when you're using high pressure, the force that you can get from this machine can be significant. That's again the need to understand the surface and use also the correct accessories. I see too often that people ask for, thinking that the higher the bar or the pressure of the high pressure, the better. In reality, you need to select what's correct for your surface. You also need to make sure you select the correct accessories for your machine, or else you will just find the operator moving the nozzle or the machine far away from the surface, not to damage it. And so it's not necessarily need for 250 bar. If you use that on a car, you remove the paint, use 160 bar, use more water, because actually water is what's cleaning. The pressure is only releasing the dirt. But you can also use brushes. You can use other facilities on the machine, so that the machine will not be having the water just on one small point of the surface, but it will be spread out. It will be maybe inside a brush. So you have many different options. When you look at the scrubber dryers in terms of the pressure, I think here it's not so much about the pressure, but also about the brush or the pad that you select. So the more hard the brush or the pad is, the more friction, of course, you can start, or the more in force you can put on the floor. So it's important to select the right brush, the right pad for your floor. But let's say that we put up the pressure, we have the right pad, that allows us now to pass on the surface quicker. So instead of maybe driving slow, because we need now to put the pressure, if we put up more pressure and we move quicker, the time that let's say we put the same pressure on the surface, but because we pass quicker, we have the same impact, but we can do it much quicker. So that means that the operator can clean quicker, because he can drive the machine quicker, because the machine has higher pressure.
Great.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Then Mataza asks, are there specific technical people required for the maintenance of the machines?
In general, we have very detailed user manuals. We also have posters that we put up, so that the first point of contact with the machine is the operator, and the simpler we can make it for the operator also to take care about the machine, the better. When we then go into, let's say, moving away from daily maintenance to more periodic maintenance, here we have our own technicians who can handle it. And then when we are looking into more advanced machines like our robotic autonomous machines, here we provide a full service contract, meaning that we take care about the machine, and that's included when we propose the machine. And I think this is important that we consider that, like we do with our cars, that if we take them to service on regular basis, we end up spending less than waiting for us to have a big problem. So and we have different levels of service contracts that you can buy when you buy the machine, and in that way, it's for us also, the more well we take care about the machine, the more the machine will be in operation, and hopefully the happier both the operator and let's say the management will be about the machine, and the longer life the machine of course will have, because that's of course also important that you take care about your investment.
And Mansour asks, are there OSHA standards in place when it comes to hazards of cleaning chemicals?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on the chemicals. We from Nilfisk are not providing chemicals, but of course there are a lot of different chemicals to be used, and I think one of the things maybe to talk about here is the dosing part. It's important that you get the dosing of the chemical, especially the more let's say highest dosage chemicals, that you get that right. And by using on-machine dosing, you take this responsibility away from the operator, but you put it on the machine. And on several of our machines, we have different keys for different people. So the operator will have one key allowing him only to change certain settings. The super user or the site manager might have a different key that allows him to change settings. And then, of course, also from a service perspective, we have different keys. Again, trying to make it simple to use our machines. Push for the operator, he should just know where to start it and where to switch it off. And by having the feature that he can actually also add some more power, allows him to use less force, less chemical, less water on a regular surface. Let's say looking at a supermarket down the halls where you have canned food, maybe you don't need to clean and you can drive quicker. When you go to the fresh food area, maybe now you need more chemical, you need more water, you need more pressure, and maybe you need to drive a bit slower. Then you can activate that, and when you move to another place, the machine will automatically, after 30 seconds, disengage it. You can engage again, and then you can move away to another surface and then stop the burst of extra power.
Niaz asks, does Nilfisk have any cleaning robot machine?
We do. Definitely, you'll see it in the right corner here on this page. So our machine is called Liberty SC50, which is a machine that is very flexible. So you will see, maybe it's not so clear from the picture, you will see it has a steering wheel. That means you can actually use it as a normal machine. You can use it manually. You can get it to copy what the cleaner is doing. So you do it once, the machine will keep doing the same. Or you can take the perimeter of the area you wanted the machine to clean, and then the machine will figure out how to clean it. So a very flexible machine that will also be adapting if changes are happening in the environment where it's cleaning. We have the only third-party safety certified machine, which I think not a lot of people are talking about yet. But I think safety is, of course, both for the operator, but also for the people moving around in that environment where you would have a machine like this cleaning. And we have it in airports. We have it in many facilities where you have people. So, of course, it's important that the machine will not run over people. So we have a great solution, and only more solutions within this type of technology will be coming. And we actually have a machine in Dubai, so we have done some great presentations with this machine, and we have it running in many countries already.
The next question is, what is the voltage frequency, 50 hertz or 60 hertz rated power?
It depends. I'm assuming this person is from Saudi. Saudi is a big, important market for us. So we have several solutions that will also work in Saudi. So we both have 60 and we have 50 hertz. So I think if you look at all the machines we luckily have running in the holy harams in Mecca and Medina, then we have been in Saudi for many years, and this is a market for sure we hope to do even better in.
I think that's all the questions we've had so far. If anyone has any more questions that they'd like to ask Anders, you can just pop them in the chat now.
Yeah, and then you're always welcome. I can see on this slide the email address for our office here in UAE is. So don't hesitate to get in touch. Of course, we're also present on the different social media channels, but don't hesitate to be in contact with us.
We have one final question, which is, what are some top safety tips you can recommend to incorporate into one's daily routine as we get used to the new normal?
Yeah, I think in terms of looking at it from Niels' perspective, it's also important to clean the cleaning machines that you have. So you should not only, let's say, of course, you need to clean the surfaces, but it's also important that you clean your cleaning machine, because that is now moving around in the environment that you are in. So of course, we need to have the correct, or the operator needs to have the correct personal protecting equipment, but it's also important that you clean the machine. So you keep the machine clean. And here you basically have to follow our recommended, let's say, usage and maintenance. So that's already part of it. But I think that's maybe something that we sometimes forget. So I would say that it's important to clean the machine after use. When you put it up for charging, if it's a battery machine, make sure that you clean the squeegees like you should always do. Make sure the brush is clean. Make sure the whole surface of the machine is clean. That the tanks are being cleaned, which should be a daily routine. But I think this is important to keep attention on that.
I think that's all we've got time for today as well. I think all the questions have come through. I don't know if you'd like to play your videos as well, if you'd also like.
Yeah, I think maybe I would, if people don't find it, I will try to play let's say, the introduction video for Nilfisk. So that also gives a little bit of insight to the machines and the solutions we have.
Every day, across the world, you will find dedicated people who are committed to their work. These are the people who clean. For them, leaving one small detail overlooked is not an option. These are the people who keep the wheels turning, hour after hour, day after day. At Nilfisk, we share these people's commitment and dedication to make the world a cleaner place. We've been doing it for over 100 years. From our innovative laboratories and engineering studios, through to our service and customer departments, we're determined to offer them only the very best in cleaning solutions. And by empowering our customers with the world's leading cleaning technology, we're clearing the way for higher productivity and a cleaner and safer every day for millions of businesses and homes around the world. From germ-free hospitals to heavy industry, from busy offices and vast warehouses, construction sites, airports, libraries, and even the places our children play. These are the people who are dedicated to you and to everyone. And we're right there with them. We are Nilfisk, and we're clearing the way.
And I think now that we are playing videos, so we also talked a bit about technology. So I'll play a short video just to introduce how we look at technology and how we see also the future of cleaning interacting with other parts of our surroundings. Let's see if it works.
We are in the midst of a new digital revolution. Never before have we seen technology develop so rapidly, and never before have we demanded so much from it. We expect our buildings to be smart, anticipating our arrival and delivering services to us instantly and invisibly. We want to be able to communicate and connect with vast networks of data as naturally and effortlessly as talking to another person. And we require technology that can liberate us from monotonous tasks. At Nilfisk, we believe that all of these innovations can increase the efficiency of workplaces. And we believe we can make our customers' businesses smarter. We see a horizon brimming with opportunities, and we are constantly exploring how these emerging technologies can be harnessed to deliver a cleaner and more productive every day. We see a world of intelligent cleaning where machines are connected, accessing data, measuring, analyzing, and predicting, delivering the right level of cleaning to the right place at the right time, without the need for human intervention. We see a world where a cleaning machine just knows without having to be told, sensing and remembering an operator's settings, or booking its own service call when it detects a fault. And at Nilfisk, we have already taken the first steps towards autonomous cleaning, where machines automatically learn and adapt to the environment. So join us in embracing the new digital revolution and an exciting new era of intelligent cleaning.
So I hope that also gave a little bit of an impression about our autonomous or robotic machine you saw at the end that we talked a little bit about. And then I think I would ask people to get in touch. This has been almost, let's say, me talking. It's always interesting to hear about the people who are actually using our machines, who are the true experts on this. So don't hesitate to be in touch with us. And I'm also happy to connect you with my colleagues if you're located outside of let's say Middle East and Africa. I think maybe some people are connecting from other locations. Then I can make sure that I connect you with the correct people.
Great, thank you so much for your time today, Anders. It was a great presentation. As I mentioned to all the attendees, this has been recorded, and a copy of the presentation will also be shared with you, so you can get Nilfisk's contact details from the presentation as well if you need them. If there's any additional questions that come through, feel free to send them to either info@fmexpo.com or to Anders himself, and we'll pass them on, just so that we, if you've got any additional questions, we can make sure that he receives them. Thank you again, and you will have the copy of the presentation within the next couple of days, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next webinar. Thank you again, Anders, so much for your time today. And
it's been a great pleasure.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing everyone for the next one, which is on the 14th of July. Thank you so much, and I'll just be ending the webinar now. Thank you, everyone.